Hi, everybody. So now that you've created your concentration with your super unit, we're now going to place that concentration that you created into a structural skeleton to create a larger concentration structure. So make sure you've reviewed the PDF lecture about concentration, and in that you're going to see that there are different types of structures. There's formal structures and informal structures, visible structures and invisible structures. Now, to create a concentration like you did, generally it's going to be informal because it's going to be distributed unevenly as a way to imply the concept of the concentration. So with this structure, you're actually going to take that informal concentration and I want you to create a formal structure. So formal structures are built on grids, and you can decide to have this as a visible structure or invisible. And also because you have that decision about visible, invisible, you can also decide whether or not it's active or inactive. So just to review, a visible structure is one where you can see the structural skeleton, so the lines of the structure. An invisible structure, of course, means that those structural skeleton lines are invisible. And then active or inactive means that the units within each structural area, that the units that are in there, so in this case, your concentration, is either going to interact with or not interact with the structural skeleton. So the most simple distribution would be a grid-like structure where your concentration is distributed in the center of each segment of the grid. If you think about it though, like that's going to be pretty static. So we want to actually find ways to activate the structure so that it's exciting. One of the things to kind of think about is that like you can have an invisible structure in terms of the structural lines, but it will be visible if it's active. So by this, I mean like if you have a structural line that is invisible, but you have a unit, say a circle, that is actively engaging with that line. So say that the line is cutting off part of the circle, then the structural line is no longer invisible, it's visible because it's active with the circle. So you have a lot of different opportunities to play around here with how you want to make something visible and how you want to make it invisible. So you're going to go ahead and go into your Photoshop. And go ahead and create a new file. And we can keep this grayscale because again, we're not working with color here. And let's just maintain that 9:12 at 96 DPI. And so then just label this as concentration structure. Okay, and then just go ahead and create that file. So here we have our 9:12 image, canvas, whatever you want to call it. And it's transparent, and that's because my selection was still on transparency, and that's great. We can leave it as transparent. So I'm just going to make a very simple structure for you so that you can see me do it, and then you can play around as much as you want. So I'm going to actually create a new layer, and then I'm going to look at my space. So it's 12 inches by 9 inches. So I believe on the assignment it says it has to have at least 10 structural areas. And so we can do that by having 2 rows of 5. So it's not going to come up completely even if we do 12 by 9. So we could do something like 3 times 4. And so have 4 columns and 3 rows, and that would be easier in terms of the math on both sides. And I'm not a math person, so I'm going to do it that way. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to pull some guides over here and drop them where they need to go. Now to pull a guide, you need to make sure you have your rulers visible. If your rulers are not visible, then you can go to your window and make sure that you have the rulers turned on in workspace, I believe. Here, and then essentials is what you want. And hopefully that will pull them up. Tools, options, so you can see all the things that I have clicked here to, if you mimic that, then your ruler should be turned on. And so I'm going to do 4 and 8. And what you're doing is you're just taking your cursor, placing it over the ruler, and pulling down. Now I totally made a boo-boo there with my math, which is typical. So it should be here if we do that, 3 and 6. So we're going to end up there with 9. So we'll go ahead and just keep the 9 just for the demonstration. And I'm sure that many of you are much better at math than I am, and you can do that math to get the 10 as a minimum, which is perfect. And so what's cool about this is like these grid lines are, right now, they aren't marks on the page, they're just markers, visual markers. And so they will help you to set up your grid. If you're having a hard time seeing it, you can always turn that bottom layer into like a white layer. So there you go. And then maybe add another transparent layer. Just in case you start working with your transparencies, you want to be able to sort of interact with a transparent background, I think. So none of these layers have anything on them because the grids are just floating there. They're not actually drawn on in any way. So what I'm going to do is just go to my second layer here, and then over here I'm going to use the straight line tool, which is over here where you see that rectangle tool. Click on that and you get the line tool. Okay, so up at the top there you have, like, it tells you like the stroke, the weight of the line, and all that kind of good information. And so we're just going to draw a line through here, and it's just basically going to lock right onto the grid. So I'm going to actually change, right now it's a stroke that looks like that. And let's see, pixels maybe. Shape. Okay, so on fill, you should have black, and then you should have shape, and then I have 1 point. Okay, so then if we go to view and go to, let's see, like we can go to clear the guides, then we can see your line is there. To get your guides back, just go back to your history and just go here and just delete that layer, and everything is still the same. So make sure you're still over here. It's creating a new layer each time I make a new shape. And you know what, that's fine. Now, one of the things to play with is the thickness of that structural grid that you're creating. The skeleton, you could have a much thicker line or a thinner line. So those are things that you can play with as well. So I'm going to clear those guides away. And so now we see our different structural skeleton. So I'm going to go up here. I can see that if I like turn off this layer, then that changes that. And what I want to do is I want to take the shapes, and just with shift, I'm just selecting that range by clicking on the top one and going to the bottom one and holding down Shift and clicking again, and it's going to group them all together. Then I'm going to right click. So on my Mac, it's Control click. On a mouse, it would be the right click. And I'm just going to merge the shapes into one layer so that I can easily turn that on and off like that. Then I'm going to go up, close that over, and I'm going to go to File and open my file that I need to open. Okay, the file, and go to my open here, and then I'm going to go to my desktop. There's my concentration mushroom. I'm going to open it. Okay, now it's opening as a separate file, and then what I'm going to do is I'm going to just copy it and move it over. Now it should already be 12 by 9, which it is at 96 dpi, which it is, okay? But we're going to shrink it when we get over to the other file that we're working with, okay? And I'm going to just hit Command A, which is select all, or you can go up to select and hit select all. Command C, which is copy, or you can go up to edit, copy. And then I'm going to click onto the structure and I'm going to hit Command V, or you can go to edit, paste, and that will be how you can transfer it. I'm now going to hit Command A to select all, or you can go to select, select all. And I'm going to hit Command T for transform. Again, you can go to select, transform. And then I'm going to drag from this corner down here. I'm going to hit Control, and I'm going to, sorry, click on it and then hit Control. And that's going to keep my proportions the same as I drag it. And so then I need to decide, is it going to fit within that structural skeleton or is it not? Once I have it where I want it, I hit Return. Then I can hit Deselect, which on my Mac is Command D, or you can go to Select, Deselect. And now I have a new layer here. And just like we did in the last process, just go ahead and duplicate that layer, boop, boop. Oh, that would be delete. Duplicate that layer, sorry. Okay, and then you can drag that over and drop it where it needs to go. Now you need to make sure that it fits within that structural space. We can see here that, there you go. And then again, go in, duplicate layer, hit OK, and then scoot it over, okay? And you can, again, place it within the structural skeleton, okay? Now, easiest thing to do here would be to select all 3 layers together and then go ahead and merge them. And then just duplicate that layer. And then you can move that down. And then duplicate that layer. And then you can move that down. I'm being very, just very simple with this on purpose so you can see this most simple way to do this, but I want you to really play. So it's kind of like dropping into the grid automatically. So I'm just going to hit Control because I just want to maneuver it so I have this, you know, same amount of lines happening. And I can also just use my arrow keys here, and that will help me to kind of like fine tune where it goes. And so that would be a visible, formal, active structure, okay? Because that bottom mushroom is interacting with something. Previously, it was interacting with the edge of the canvas. Now it's interacting with the line. So if I take this away, I would still have a visible, well, it'd be invisible active would be kind of like how we would describe the fact that the lines aren't there. But Also, though, you know what? It's also visible active because we can still see the structural lines. So a little bit of playfulness there in terms of what you do and how you create it. You have to use your super unit concentration at least 10 times, no more than 50 times. Once it's done, save it as a JPEG, and then just upload both files, the super unit concentration and the concentration structural skeleton structure. So this file, sorry, I'm trying to think about what to call it. So it'd be the concentration structure to the assignment. Keep them both as JPEGs, keep them both as 9x12, and they should upload pretty well. And that will be the completion of your concentration structure. So the big goal with this assignment really is to take, we started with the points, lines, and planes, and then we made a super unit, and then we made points, lines, and planes again, made another super unit, combined them into a super unit, made a concentration with them, and then ran them through the structural skeleton. So trying to show you how you can start with a kind of a simple idea, which was the poison, expand on that idea with the antidote, and then take those two ideas, combine them into a new idea, which is the poison and the antidote together. So they're counter balancing each other, or they're negating each other, and then creating a design with that, the concentration, and then taking the concentration and creating a design with that. So it's just like the thumbnail process I've been trying to teach you, which is layering and layering and layering and layering to get to a final sort of complex idea. Like your Gestalt film poster, sometimes the complex idea actually looks really simple, but it took a lot of complex thought to get to the simple end. So minimal end, I would say, I suppose, rather than simple, but I don't really personally mind the word simple. So kind of that's a big goal in my design class, is to show you how you can build and build and build and build to get a final result. And that's something which I want you to take to all your other art classes too, which is that like nothing is ever really done. You can always just keep going and going and playing and maneuvering and manipulating and changing and to create something final.